grin about?
I just took a load off my staff by hiring Fresh Start Cleaning Services.
How'd you manage that?
Fresh Start Cleaning Services allows our team to leave at the end of their shift and not have to stay and clean after a double. They're happy, and you should see the difference having a professional cleaner makes. Plus, now I know exactly how much the cleaning cost will be for the year.
Wow, that would make anyone smile.
You can call Fresh Start Cleaning Services at 850-771-6057.
You recycle, right?
Did you know that recycling is one of the most important things we can do for the environment and for the economy? And recycling can help protect our oceans and waterways. Sadly, each year, 8 million metric tons of waste goes into oceans. That's the equivalent of 5 bags full of waste stacked on top of each other and covering every foot of coastline in the world. That much is going in every year. And 6 out of 10 of the most commonly found items in the oceans are fully recyclable. So we need to start recycling more, and we need to recycle right to get these valuable materials back to the manufacturers to use and to keep them out of oceans and waterways. But let's face it, recycling's confusing. We have a solution, and it's working.
The standardized labels help people recycle more, and they help people recycle right. Let's recycle across America, and let's recycle right.
To learn more about this solution and how to recycle right to protect our oceans and waterways, visit letsrecycleright.org.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WTOT, W271DN Mariana, WVLQ Port St. John, Paula Hesse, ESPN Northwest Florida. Welcome to the house. It's time for the Afternoon Underdogs.
It's happening.
Wow.
It's on right now.
Opinionated and unfiltered. The hot takes, the rants, and the sports talk you crave.
Give it to me.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
What's going on, Northwest Florida? You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, and you're tuned in to ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 in Panama City, 102.1 in Mariana, and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. This is the Afternoon Underdogs, and I'm David Hayes, along with AG Adam Goff. We've also got Caveman Rick in the building with us, and Bone Crusher is producing the show today on the ones and the twos. Hopefully everyone is having a beautiful Friday afternoon. Roll up your car windows, though, because we will have some rain this afternoon, and Joanna will be telling us all about it throughout the show. We have a weather update at each and every break, and we do want to thank our sponsors for the weather. That is Mid-South Lumber, Ellis Agency Insurance, and Earthworks of Northwest Florida. The NFL schedule released last night, so we'll get into that. And, you know, we talked about the Giants schedule yesterday because what are we calling him now? Johnny Yankee Seed. He gave us the whole Giant schedule, and I was a little standoffish on, you know, is this actually going to be legit? It is a bunch of leaks and everything, and it was basically spot on with the game. So we went through the whole entire Giant schedule, and we'll go through some more schedules today. The keynotes, the highlights of the NFL schedule. We'll look specifically today at the Bengals, the Eagles, and the Titans here in this opening segment. We'll go over some over and unders in the second hour today. The Real Fishing Report, as it is every Friday, will be with us today at 4:20. That's Tim Braddock, the owner of Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, a fantastic bait shop here in Bay County. We're going to have Jason Patterson. He's a running back over there at Sneed's. He's put up a huge amount of yards, 3-star running back according to 24/7 Sports. We'll have him on the line with us today at 5 p.m. and talk about what Sneed's is looking like for 2023. Courtney Mims, a lot of locals remember that name. She's over there in Arkansas now with Pig Trail Nation. She's going to join us this afternoon at 5:20, and we'll talk about the SEC softball tournament, Florida State, how their softball season's going, and is Oklahoma going to slow down anytime soon? I mean, they lost Jocelyn Allo, and they're still the number one team in the land right now. Only one loss on the season, unless they've taken a loss in the Big 12 tournament, and they're going to be an SEC team next year. So every year, the conference to watch as far as just a stud-filled tournament is the SEC, and now you add teams like Texas and Oklahoma specifically. Again, I mentioned Oklahoma. That's going to make that a tough a tough conference to come out of, but it will be great for the SEC. Then we'll wrap it up with our local high school sports spotlight, and Bay High made a new hire today, so make sure you're tuned in for the entire 2 hours today if you want to find out who Bay High and the Tornadoes hired for their new boys basketball coach. Who's filling that position for the Tornadoes? 850-215-6290 is the number to call. You can also text. We'll read those out as well. And we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we're on Twitch, all at ESPN Northwest Florida. For our listeners in the Mariana area, you might have noticed by scanning through your radio, if you always have your dial turned to 102.1. We haven't been on the air for the last 2 days. The tower there, the antenna that was on the tower fell down. There was a guy wire that got hit by a backhoe, so we're in the process of getting all of that repaired. But until then, you can tell your friends and family up there in Mariana to get the ESPN Northwest Florida app. You can do that by going to the Facebook store. You can go to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, and you can get the app. We did have there was a hiccup yesterday. I don't know if anyone was listening, but it sounded like Colin Cowherd. Colin Cowherd was in a loop, but we got that all handled, so the app is working fresh to death again. So make sure that you're listening on the app if you don't have us on your frequency.
Speaking of hiccups, I don't know if you guys were listening to the Inside Drive earlier in the week, but I believe they were talking about, was it Bo Jackson that's had hiccups for like over 8 months, and he's gone to like specialists. He's even like sniffed the rear end of a porcupine or something like that, because supposedly that's a remedy for getting rid of the hiccups.
Somebody just needs to create a hologram of Bo Jackson playing defense and have it run at Bo Jackson. I think that would scare the hiccups out of him.
Dude, I don't know, but that's brutal, man. I mean, you hear these horror stories of people going years with hiccups, hiccuping in their sleep. I mean, it's mentally wearing, it's mentally exhausting, not to mention what it does physically to you, because, there are some hiccups that actually do hurt. So I can't imagine what he's going through. But my remedy was always just take 2 packets of sugar like you find on a table at a restaurant. Yeah. And just chew up the 2 packets of sugar. Now, obviously not the paper, but pour them into your mouth and then chew it up. And
apparently, great advice. It's kind of like James Fife giving us the advice that during spring break, just go to the state park and drink there. We had a text from Ryan Warren, was like, that's actually totally illegal to do regardless of the month and time. So, so just chew it with the paper there. Go ahead, Caveman.
Apparently, one thing Bo doesn't know.
Yeah, how to get rid of
hiccups. But apparently, he knows everything else.
Johnny Yankee Seed says, "Welcome back, Caveman. Is Facebook prison like the old Lynx jail cell?"
Yeah, I can't.
Did you ever get out of there? Yeah, you had to, because you were commenting on the Inside Drive today.
But apparently, I mentioned we were talking about quarterbacks yesterday, and I was talking about one of them quarterbacks having more weapons, and I believe because I said have more weapons, I believe that was the trigger word, because you know how things are nowadays. I mean, I could have been talking about somebody being like a pedo or something, it'd probably been okay. Yeah. But I mentioned the word weapons, and now I'm in Facebook jail for an hour.
Be careful. They might be listening here and just go ahead and ban you again. That looks like that Richard Marcus guy.
Reported you for saying that? They just did it?
I don't know if they did it by itself or what. I mean, it happened pretty quick. I scrolled up, but I mean, I don't know.
The Facebook scene is wild, and everything that has those,
if somebody did tell me, shame on you.
Yeah, shame on you. But here's my problem with it, right? Is they ban you use certain words, especially if the algorithm can't catch the context that you're using the word. That's what really irks me. But then secondarily, you get to scrolling in those Facebook reels and whatnot, and next thing you know, you scroll 3 down and you've got a sponsored ad, and it's a little raunchy, man. Like if it was in if I had a kid and it was in his hands, I'd be like, what in the world are we doing?
Rick's not paying Facebook like that ad is.
No, 100%. But that one gets through. Like you get certain ones that go through, and then certain ones that are just extremely silly, and it's like, is Rob Manfred in cahoots with Zuckerberg in who they ban and who they don't?
To be perfectly honest with it, with the way I usually my take on things.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen nowhere near probably as often as it should, so I shouldn't even
So
complain.
you're okay.
Yeah, I'm good with it. 1 hour,
Right.
like seriously, 1 hour is nothing.
Yeah, no doubt. Knowing the mind of Caveman
That's what I'm
Rick is like,
saying.
yeah, you got off easy right there. That's just a whole slap on the wrist for Caveman Rick. Again, this is the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 in Panama City, 101.9 the Forgotten Coast, Port St. Joe. All right, let's dive into the NFL schedule here. When it comes to strength of schedule, which is not a lot to rely on. Yes, it gives you that precursor for the teams that you could possibly be facing, but there's no guarantee that because you have the toughest strength of schedule, in this case, it's the Philadelphia Eagles, and for the Atlanta Falcons, they have the easiest when we're talking about the strength of schedule, but who knows how these teams will actually bounce back or not be as good as what they were
injuries
in 2022.
happen, right? I mean,
what's going to happen with Eckler? There's still some pieces to be moved before the season starts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to happen. I mean, we don't know what draft picks are going to look like, what they're going to do. We don't know what injuries, whether they're lingering from last year or if there's going to be new injuries that pop up in spring. I almost said spring training in training camp,
Spring training, preseason,
or
same
throughout
thing.
the season. I mean, so
Plenty of opportunity for
the
players
Eagles,
to screw up and go.
Right, the Eagles have a
do illegal things.
tough 5 or 6 stretch, or 6-game stretch where they're facing the toughest competition the NFL has to offer, seemingly. But I mean, you saw what they did in the NFC Championship game, right? I mean, they were up against a 4th-string quarterback. Who's to say that doesn't happen, for some team, not necessarily the Eagles, but against one of their, for one of their opponents next year. So
And it goes right to the Tennessee Titans because everyone's saying, the Titans are going to be cutting Malik Willis before the season. And it's like, man, we're in this day and age, and we always talk about the roster spots. And so with the way the injuries happen, and Ryan Tannehill was not 100% healthy last year, so why would you go into this season with such a question mark, such a, as you put it earlier before we started the show, riding the fence and not knowing the direction that you're actually going to go? Well, if that's the case, you can't say that Will Levis is going to be the guy and that Malik Willis is just absolutely canceled out. Now, from what we saw last year, of course, I don't believe that Malik Willis is going to be an NFL quarterback, but if Ryan Tannehill goes down, then I'd rather have Malik Willis there as the backup than having to go puzzle something together and bring someone in who doesn't know the offense. I mean, give Malik the benefit of the doubt. Let's see how year 2 goes for him, round 2 goes as a 3rd stringer.
Well,
Carrying 3 quarterbacks is the way to go nowadays.
Yeah.
I think you have to. And what's going to be scary for the Titans is if they go into it, say Tannehill does end up going down, they bring Levis in and they don't let Levis throw the ball the way they didn't let Malik throw it. That's when you're really going to start to go, all right, what are we doing here?
And the thing with Malik Willis in those particular games is it kind of made sense not to throw, especially you look at that Kansas City game that Ryan Tannehill missed, and then the Titans jump out and look like they're going to win the ball game, and Malik Willis in the second half throws for -2 yards. And did not get a lot of opportunity there, but it's why would you at least let's see what the kids got. And so I guess there is that side of, well, they were playing to win the game. Well, what were they doing when they went 7-3 and lost 7 games in a row? Why weren't we trying to win those games, man? Of course, I do think that the Titans were trying to win those games, but it did not pan out.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, like you have to keep them. Malik Willis, you don't know exactly what you have in the guy. I don't think he's gotten a fair shake, if you will. And then with your sitting on the fence with Tannehill, and because of the age, I mean, the guy can go out and he can get banged up pretty early in the season. You need to have that security there. I mean, the team's already got issues in other areas on the team. Quarterback's definitely one that you don't want to go into a season having, and so I think it's smart for him to do this. I mean, especially until you get your bona fide, guy that you're going to ride with for, the next, foreseeable future, maybe 10 years or more. I think it's something that you need to think about.
And for the New York Jets, man, like we talked about how much better a position the Jets would be in if they bring in a quarterback. And not only do they bring in a quarterback, they bring in number 12, who will now wear number 8, and Aaron Rodgers, one of the best to do it, especially if you don't care about winning the whole thing when it comes to the Super Bowl. But with that, the Jets also got 5 primetime games. They're going to be in primetime in week 1. week 4, week 9, week 12, and week 17. And there's only 4 teams that are going to be in prime time more than the Jets, and that's the Chiefs, the Bills, the Cowboys, and the Chargers, who all have 6 regular season prime time games. And also what's going to be interesting is how Adam Schefter put it. You've got all of these teams, or all of these games that are now considered free agents, which I like to a degree. I also miss the days where I knew, Fox is going to have these certain games and CBS is going to have these certain games. And so I'll know exactly where to look for without having to go to an app to figure all of that out.
But you knew Fox was NFC. You knew CBS was AFC, unless it was interconference opponents where the home team would be, like, say if it was Dallas was hosting the Bengals last year, that game was on CBS. So this year, though, it's going to be everybody for themselves. They're going to pick and choose. And I kind of like it that way. It's kind of like a lottery. Like, we're going to draft these games. Here's who you get. And I think what we're going to see is toward the end of the season, when we start flexing some of these games, you're going to see more flexibility, if you will, for these networks to pick and choose which games are going to be theirs, especially in primetime.
And that's what I'm thinking might be cool. And they should probably rank these, broadcasting crews maybe the same way they do referees, and some of the best crews get some of the best games.
Well, they do in a sense. They have their A teams and then their B teams. So, like, Chris Fowler is going to be calling the second half of the doubleheaders for the ESPN Monday Night Football games, and your number 1 team there is Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. But let's go over to Rob, who's right here in Panama City. What do you got on the Titans, Rob?
Well, I have family members that work in the organization, and I will tell you, Malik Willis got a fair shot. Malik Willis has failed internally.
Oh, yeah, I won't disagree with you there, but do you think that they need to go ahead and just get him off the roster and bring in a third guy?
He won't be on the roster. He'll make it through spring training and do summer training, but he won't see him again.
All right.
He won't make the team.
So
I can tell you that. I mean, he has not done his work to get where he needs to be an NFL quarterback.
Hey, I love
very much like Geno Smith did with the Jets years ago. Tested poorly, took a flyer on him, later round pick, and took him 4 years to understand and mature. He's not mature enough to play NFL quarterback.
Hey, and I'm fine with that, and I would love to see. I want to see the Tennessee Titans do what's best at that quarterback position. My only argument for keeping Malik Willis or any other quarterback going into the season with 3 quarterbacks is just at the rate that we're seeing quarterbacks go down. That's my only thing. I did not see anything from Malik Willis last year that showed me that he could be an NFL quarterback, and I'm not an NFL scout. But what's the inside scoop? How is the organization feeling about Will Levis there? Because that's another guy that, maybe he's got the size and all of that stuff, but when I see that pick, to me, I kind of scratched my head. Not a huge fan of that pick, but got to give it up to Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel, because obviously, again, they know the sport a lot better than what I do.
Well, Will's going to be one of those guys who is going to take a year to understand. He came out of a system that there was not a lot of pressure put on the quarterback to change plays. It was not that kind of offense where in NFL you've got to be able to read pretty quickly and then make a audible call and make quick decisions. I will tell you a name you need to keep an eye out for being signed by Tennessee is A.J. McCarron.
Oh,
they really want him to come in as that guy to back up Tannehill while Levis learns the system.
And I am a huge advocate of teams going out and getting a guy and saying, look, we're not going to throw you to the wolves this year. Like Malik Willis, again, they obviously didn't throw him to the wolves in the way that all worked out. But with Will Levis, I would love to see him get a full entire year just learning how the NFL works. And I think that would bode well for his development.
We've seen it work in the past, right? Carson Palmer sitting behind Kitna.
Yeah.
Mahomes sitting behind Alex Smith. Rodgers sitting behind Favre. There's been numerous examples of great quarterbacks. And I'm not saying that Will Levis is the next Patrick Mahomes. Don't get it twisted. But there is an advantage to having these young kids come in, sit behind, veteran quarterbacks and learn. And there's some quarterbacks that I felt like did get thrown to the wolves that maybe if they did sit back a year, maybe they don't have to worry about, the things that they're having to go through right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's going to be some opportunities there for some people to a guy like Will Levis has the tools. He just needs to learn the system.
Yeah.
And a guy like AJ teaches players how to be professional. That's what his role will be. He'll teach people to become professional athletes and how to carry themselves. And that's what I like about him. He's not one of these guys who's going to cause you problems. He's going to come in and create an atmosphere in the quarterback room where you learn. You're not there just for the bright lights, right?
Right,
So,
and then on top of that, let's say that Tannehill does go down with an injury of any type of sort. You feel a lot more confident having an A.J. McCarron running your offense the way that offense should be run compared to a Josh Dobbs or a Malik Willis.
Well, Vrabel played with Tom, of course, and he sees that as his quarterback style. He doesn't want one of these guys who's gonna. I'm sure he would take him probably, but he doesn't want a running quarterback. He wants a control quarterback who controls the game, and that's the system he played in and he coached in. So therefore, you're going to see that's the kind of guy he kind of gravitates to.
100%, and it is one of those dying type of offenses or way to run your team. But as a Tennessee Titans fan, and I'm sure that you can agree with this, Rob, I love the way that it's a run first, kind of closer to old school football than it is new school football.
Yeah, you're gonna see that. I think. I expect Tennessee to take a step back this year.
Yeah.
They lost until they get a better offensive line, until they get better wide receivers. They're not going to beat that team.
Yeah.
They're just not going to be there. But it's a development process, and Amy's done a good job of giving Mike and his staff and the scouts good, chances to go out and redevelop a team. So, and build upon it. So, be patient. I think that's the way to look at it. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day weekend to all your mothers and everything. So have a great one.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Rob, for the call. That was a fantastic call. We definitely appreciate it. It's always doubly fun for me to continue talking about the Tennessee Titans. And as Rob mentioned, it is Mother's Day this weekend, so make sure that you wine and dine your moms this weekend. Take care of them. They brought you into this world, and like Ryan Mulvey was saying all afternoon, they can take you out. It's the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida. When we return, it's going to be time for the Real Fishing Report with Tim Braddock.
ESPN Northwest Florida is already your home for the most live and local sports talk. And now we're taking...
Oh, he got all of that one.
The Inside Drive. Ryan Mulvey, middays, 11 to 1 inside the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios. The latest reactions to the biggest stories happening right now. Plus, interviews, sports betting, and your calls.
He's got to be pleased with that.
On ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your weather forecast on this Friday. A likelihood of thunderstorms and partly cloudy the remainder of the day with a gentle breeze at 11 miles per hour coming out of the south and temps near 83. We will have partly cloudy skies tonight and be warm at 72. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
You know the break room for the best pool tables in Bay County. But did you know they now serve delicious food? Check out the break room's daily lunch and dinner specials like spaghetti and meatballs, meatloaf with mashed potatoes, air-fried chicken, and more. Plus the best burgers, hot dogs, and you gotta try the Sammy of the day. The break room on Panama City Beach at the corner of Joan Avenue and North Lagoon. For more information, check them out on Facebook.
Chef Ross here. We're open daily at 11 at the break room.
By now, you've heard us talking about Tiger TV Pro. Hi, David Hayes from the Afternoon Underdogs, here to remind you about this incredible streaming service with over 6,000 premium channels. And the cost, you ask? $15 a month. Yes, only $15 a month. Every sports channel is available, including the ACC and SEC Network, the NFL, NBA, MLB, HBO, Showtime, and thousands more. For more info, go to our website at espnpc.com. Scroll down and click the Tiger logo.
The battle for a sixth straight division crown starts right now, and the East already knows don't sleep on the Atlanta Braves.
Next pitch to Riley. Swung on, hammered hammered to deep center. He's at the track. He's at the wall. Home run.
Tonight, the Braves are back on the road for another AL battle as they roll into Rogers Center to take on the Toronto Blue Jays.
Coverage starts tonight at 6 on your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast. ESPN, Northwest Florida.
The Real Fishing Report. It's expert insider information from Tim at Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle. What's biting? What bait to use? Where to cast? And now, the Real Fishing Report. On 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 in Panama City, 101.9 in the Forgotten Coast, Port St. Joe. Now, this is the Real Fishing Report with Tim Braddock from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, along with Captain Jones, who's with 30A Sport Fishing. What's going on, Tim? Man, you said we got a loaded segment here today, so I'm just going to hand it off to you.
Perfect. We are jonesing for the fishing report
there
today.
There we go.
That's a great pun. If you know the guest that's with us, and we do have Captain Justin Jones.
What's up?
With us today, and we'll get to him here in just a minute. We'll let him talk about his charter service, exactly what he does. A couple things about Captain Justin, though. He is Panama City born and raised, and so he's native from here. And Justin, why don't you take a minute, tell the folks who you are, what your charter service is, and then we'll take a minute and get into the fishing report.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm Captain Justin Jones. I'm from Panama City, and now I guide out of Santa Rosa Beach, 30A, 331 Bridge, that east end of the bay over there.
Nice.
I'm with 30A Sport Fishing. That's my company, and mainly stick in the bay, fishing for reds, trout, mainly trout right now. The next couple weeks will be a good trout fishery.
Lots of trout, both in Chattahoochee. Caveman Rick over here caught a stud trout this weekend. Rick, why don't you tell the folks a little bit about your trout? How long was it? What were you using?
It's cool. I caught it over in the East Bay area. It's about 24 and a half inches. They didn't have the tape, but I measured it on my rod. Then when I got to the house, measured the length on my rod, from like butt end to
so it's probably around 20 inches.
Yeah. And he probably was really in North Bay, but he wasn't. Yeah. He's somewhere in the East Bay area.
I'll be honest. It was in East Bay. It was out towards the area where I live. I didn't fib too much. And I caught that one on a Zoom fluke.
Okay.
An Arkansas Shiner color. It's a typical soft plastic lure I like to use a lot, and similar to the one I caught about a month ago that was a little bit bigger that I showed you as well. That thing hit like right in front of me, saw it come up, come up on my lure, paused for a second, like it was thinking about whether it was going to take it or not.
Right.
I gave that rod tip just enough of a little twitch to make that lure just do a little bit of a
wiggle.
Like a shimmy.
Oh yeah.
And he just engulfed it and moved about 1.5 foot, and I set the hook and it was on, pulling out some drag. It was a good little fight.
So your jig head on that?
No, not jig head. This was a weedless Zoom fluke on this one. The one previously, about a month ago, I caught that one on a stinger tail grub with a jig head.
What color was that head?
The one I caught on that one was a white head.
Yeah.
I use just the typical, like the silver or the lead colored heads. I'm not too worried about it being painted or having an eye or anything. I mean, like you can do that. You can get those and spend extra money. I really don't think it matters.
Right. So, jig head color is a big topic of discussion when people come in the bait shop. Because when you walk in, you see this wall of soft plastics, right? Yeah. And then at that point, we usually have around 6 different colors you can choose from. And so it gets into some interesting discussions. What we do find is that there's something about those bigger eyes. It's an attention getter. And a lot of times those eyes, as you're well aware, have a reflective principle to them. And it's something about those bigger eyes on those jig heads that we find the fish tend to like. We do carry a couple different styles based on if they're going to fish in the grass or in the grass flats. We carry the rounded heads that come from Voodoo, which is also known as egret. And they can easily work their way through the grass, not get caught up.
It sets the hook up a little bit higher.
That's exactly what.
And that does work really good for that kind of application.
The other thing is we find that people tend to love the DOA jig heads that we have in stock. A lot of that's because of the little tab they have on both sides that helps keep that plastic from moving around or from.
And the reason why I like the jigs and like that soft plastic application, like I was rigging it weedless, that Zoom Fluke I was talking about.
Right.
I really like single hooks. I'd rather use a lure that's got a single hook. That way, once I get that hook set, I don't have to worry about treble hooks tearing up the fish's mouth. Or I just find it's easier for them to throw a treble hook than it is a single shank hook.
Man, this is a great discussion right here. Let's hit this point because we tend to find that individuals want to change out if they buy a mirror lure, for example, that's treble hooks on them. We started buying them where they have the single inline hook, but we also now carry separate packs of just those single inline hooks in like a number 1 up to a 1/0 because they do like to fish that single inline hook.
That's what I do.
Rather than a treble hook.
No doubt.
I put single hooks on my lures if I have time.
Yeah, and you find that when there's particularly trout, super aggressive right now, right? And they'll eat. They're ferociously feeding. And then when you hook them, like you said, it's a head shake battle from then on.
Less dangerous on your hands.
Yeah.
So you take the treble hook off and replace that with a single hook?
Yeah, with like a twitch bait, I'll use a J hook, but with top waters, I use a circle hook.
Nice.
It's a little bit slower of a bite.
Now, you may get
water.
like a few less fish that you actually get in and land. Or actually, I'm sorry, I had an easier time landing them with the single hook,
right?
But you might have a harder time actually just hooking them. The treble hooks, a lot of times you'll get that initial strike and you'll have them fight for a few. But like I said, they'll throw them a little bit easier.
They come off those easy.
Well, it would be accurate to state, right, that your reaction time on those inline J's needs to be quicker than your reaction time with those trebles. In a lot of cases, those trebles are, you're able to have multiple hook points, obviously.
Yeah.
Whereas that J, that reaction, once you see that bite, it's got to be an immediate
Case in point with those bigger trout I've been catching, I've noticed too that because I'm lure fishing and not using a live or a dead bait, that's it's obviously fake.
Right.
They're not holding on to it quite as long. And so when I was actually waiting to feel the weight of the fish and then wind down to set the hook, they were spinning it out. But the few times I actually seen the trout come up and actually take my lure, I wasn't even waiting to feel the weight. I was just snatching back and I was setting the hook, and I was having a lot more success doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So, artificial's great opportunity to be able to get out and catch multiple species. Matter of fact, in our summary today, and we'll go ahead and highlight it in the inshore report, but as if you've never fished with artificial bait in any way, shape, or form, whether it's hard bait, soft plastics, whatever, this weekend is a great weekend to try that. The weather forecast is looking favorable. There will be hit or miss showers. We're kind of into that pattern now where there's going to be these few pop-ups, but it's not going to be anything that's a rain event for 4 or 5 hours over the weekend, right? So the weather, the temperature is supposed to be relatively nice, and this weekend's a great weekend to try those out. So, Captain Jones, you have been catching quite a few trout over in the Chattahoochee Bay. So to those that are out there listening, give us an idea of how you're fishing those particular areas and what type of bait are you using?
Well, mainly we're trying to cast net these menhaden or pogies, whatever you want to call them, little green baits. They're hanging out in the bayous and out on the grass flats in the shallows, and you get up early and cast net them, get them in your live well, and you run down to that clear water and some deeper grass if you can find some grass, and just start chumming hard. And if you see some blow up, send some popping corks down there and see what it is. It's usually a trout, could be ladyfish, but we'll move around till we find a trout.
Let's pause there for just a second, because sometimes we understand fishing lingo.
Yeah.
Maybe those who don't fish a whole lot and listen to the radio show don't necessarily know. When you say blow ups, are we talking like inflatables? Are we talking about, what am I looking for?
Are you talking about my girlfriend, man?
Yeah, what are you saying?
We're
when
usually
you say
in
blow ups?
2-3 foot of water. So
Yeah.
if you start chumming, throwing a bunch of them live baits out and let them scatter the back behind the boat, and you start seeing fish come up and gulp the top, that's what we call a blow up. Those trout are aggressive. They'll come up and you'll see them gulp up them baits. If you see that, that's a good sign. Throw your bait back there in a popping cork about 2 foot leader, and it usually gets bit.
It's fun to see those blow-ups happen. Again, we know what that terminology is, but sometimes people just have never seen it, so you're unfamiliar with it. But when those fish are there, and again, they're ferociously feeding, you see them just kind of hitting the top water, and it just sounds like a small splash. Now, I think it's important to note that sometimes mullet get confused for blow-ups. So there's a difference when the mullet are jumping, and we always say, the mullet must be happy today, right? If that fish comes fully out of the water and
not a blow-up.
It's not a blow-up.
It's a happy mullet.
It's a happy mullet, living his best life, eating all the algae that he can eat.
When it's a blow-up, you'll know. You'll feel that thump, that big old gulp. They'll come up and gulp the top, and
it's a good time to throw out a top water lure, too.
Yeah, you can start doing that. You can throw flies, lures, if you got them fired up like that.
Well, I think what's important to note is you don't necessarily see the whole fish.
That's usually
You'll
just
see
a
that.
gulp.
You'll see a lot of times if you see the blow-up, you'll see
like the side,
a reflection.
the shine.
Exactly. You'll see the shine from the fish. But if that fish is coming all the way out of the water, at that point, it's most likely mullet. And now, if it's a real big fish, like 6 to 7 feet, it could be a tarpon.
Yeah, it could be.
And it's important to note
know.
that. Jones and I, we were out last weekend.
Me and Tim saw a couple big tarpon rolling down the flat the other weekend.
Yeah, we were out there in the Chattahoochee Bay and saw a few floating around. And then last Friday, we had a customer catch one from surf.
Dang.
And he caught it off of a live hardtail. He's out there trying to catch a shark. And I've got photo evidence of it. And he fought it for about 45 minutes on his 5,500 size spinning reel. And it's a good looking tarpon. And we had to do a little bit of education about making sure the fish stays in water.
Yeah.
That's very important. If you catch a tarpon, you must keep that fish in the water. And thankfully, the fish made it. It was alive when he released it, but it had been taken out of water for pictures. So even if you take pictures, keep that fish in the water.
Jump in the water, get someone to take the picture.
Exactly. Get somebody else to help you out. But,
minimal handling.
Minimal handling. Yeah. So I think it's important to note, you can tell by the report so far today, fishing really is good everywhere.
There's a lot of activity out there right now. Like when I was out there Wednesday, I saw in 2.5, 3 foot of water, like a 20-pound black drum just swim right up on me. And if I could have hooked him, I probably would have got broke off though. I mean, even with like 20-pound fluorocarbon in that shallow of water with a beast of a fish that big.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the fishing's really heating up in the bay for sure.
So we know the trout bite's good. We have kind of approached tarpon. The tarpon season, if you would, is technically not here. And I do find it interesting. I feel like tarpon fishing's something that's kind of been kept under wraps here in Panama City. And we're not entirely sure why, although some of the major shows, such as Chasing the Sun, has now featured tarpon fishing. We have a solid fishery here. Particularly in June, July, and August. And there's some great times to be able to get out, catch tarpon on spinning gear. You can catch them on fly. Again, it was a fluke. This guy caught one from surf, but that's why we surf fish.
Yeah, they're here.
You just never know.
Me and you saw them rolling the other day, beach fishing.
Yeah.
Pompano fishing.
Exactly. Not only were we out, we obviously fished together a lot of the past 2 weeks. And we were out pompano fishing, saw 2 tarpon rolling. And it's in the same spot where that guy, the customer from last week, caught the tarpon. So
I mean, they're back here in the bay too. My nephew caught some in the Haven area of the bay. I've caught them off of Beach Drive area. I've seen them back in the East Bay area where I live.
We've got resident tarpon in the back of the bay.
Yeah.
They're just hard to get to bite.
So it's hard to. It's kind of actually crazy that they actually can winter here because of how cold we get some of these winters.
Yeah, a little skittish fish. So let's talk about the redfish a little bit. Jones, have you seen much report in the way of the redfish? Or
I've still been doing good on reds. Now that I can start chumming this bait, I can start running down to different areas than just when we were fishing shrimp in the spring.
Let's talk about sight fishing because I was on the phone today with a customer from Central Florida. And he's brought us Hell's Bay up for the week and just wanting some info and some insight. And obviously that's what we do at the bait shop. But he's wanting to sight fish a little bit for the reds. Are you finding conditions favorable to sight fishing right now? And are you seeing many fish? So it's a 2-part question.
Yeah, if it's not a lot of rain, we should be good, which I don't think we'll have much. If you can get a nice clear water, try to find that side where the trees are blocking that wind. The wind's coming out of the south, hit the south side, run down to where that water's clear, and you'll see them. They're here all year long.
Yeah.
You just got to find the flat that the wind's being blocked at the time, and hopefully it's clear because there's no brain, and that's all you need.
What do you
That's a
think?
combination.
Outgoing tide probably more likely than like incoming tide if you're like
Where I
fishing the
fish
tides.
them, it really doesn't matter so much. They're just out there cruising. If you can find them schooled up, it's your best scenario, but you'll see singles and doubles, and you'll see them if you can find a clear flat.
Or find like a big school of mullet and throw like right around there where they're stirring up stuff on the bottom and
Yeah.
see if you can
If you,
get one.
particularly if you can see whether it's menhaden or mullet, if you see that bait popping out of the water, it's probably a real good chance to start throwing behind of it. This time of year, it could be a jack, it could be
I did
a
catch
big trout, it could
decent
be a
Jack
big
Reveal
red.
the other day too, on top water. So
Me and
they're-
him were talking about the jacks on the way here.
Yeah.
Them jacks will be showing up in the back of the bays busting soon, hopefully.
So obviously when you're sight fishing, right, identifying that fish is first step. Typically, what are you throwing at that fish once you identify it?
I throw a bigger jig head with like a
Just a jig
Z-man
head?
on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jig head with a 3 or 4 inch
Like a paddle
rubber
tail?
bait. Yeah,
Yep.
paddle tail. Try to match them menhaden they're feeding on. Or
Yeah, we
or
find
a
that
finger
Houdini
mullet.
color works well. They've got like a real silvery, shiny color in that Z-Man that works great.
You can start getting away with more throughout the summer, but in the winter it's real skittish. You got to be real quiet and tiny little baits. You can't throw something huge at them.
Yeah. So keep it in that 3 to 4 inch range.
Yeah, 3 or 4 inch range. I
Right.
use a bigger jig head in case I have to pierce it through some wind. Try to get it past him so you're not thumping it right in his face, spooking him off.
Right.
I mean, you just figure out which way you think they're swimming, try to intercept them, throw it out in front of them.
That's what we
be a good quarterback.
We preach that a lot on this show. You know, if that 45-degree angle is what you want to look for, don't throw it right on top of that fish. Particularly, I mean, sight fishing, and you're out with a captain, you're out, with a couple buddies. That's fairly easy to figure out how to do. If you go fish the pier, that's where it turns into a mess.
Yeah.
You get one fish, and you get 20 people throwing at the one fish.
Sight fishing is where you want to go to learn how to, I think, lure fish, though. That way you can see how the fish reacts to what you're doing with the lure, and that gives you an idea. It's when you don't see the fish and don't see the lure, you know what to do.
We have a good sight fishery here.
Justin, real quick, why don't you tell the folks how they can contact you if they want to hire you up to be a guide?
You can go to my website. It's 30asportfishing.com. And I'm on Instagram, 30A Sport Fishing, Facebook, same thing. And
Telephone
my phone
number?
number is 850-532-3067.
All
Great
right.
stuff.
And to summarize the fishing forecast for this week, we're doubled up. We have another great May weekend to get out and fish. If your plans were derailed last week, then this weekend is your best weekend to go fish. Fishing inshore, from shore, from the pier jetties will be the solid choice. Focus your efforts on a new technique or method of fishing this weekend. We have a full line of deadly dicks in stock to help catch whichever fish you're casting for, whether you're from the pier or trolling on a boat. Go to Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle and talk with one of our knowledgeable pro staff to get the right deadly dick selected, rigged the right way. The Real Local Fishing Report brought to you by Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, live on Fridays at 4:15 exclusively on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
As always, great stuff, Tim. And before I let you go, we did get a listener question in on Facebook, and we were just moving so fast. He was on Miller Pier, and he saw a gar. He says he knows that they can survive in brackish water, but how long until they have to get back to brackish or fresh water before it dies, or can it survive in the Gulf?
Yeah, so we just had a similar question to this in discussions, and ultimately the answer is we'd have to ask a FWC biologist. However, what we do see is that once we get a lot of rain and that fresh water runs in, then that's typically when we start seeing those gar further in the bay and also out in those Gulf openings.
Gotcha.
And we believe that they tend to follow back in when that salinity starts getting higher. They follow that fresh water back in.
They can live pretty good in salt water. I see them a lot fishing in the summer down by the mid-bay in the middle of the bay where there's not a lot of fresh water coming out. You'll see them.
I see
They'll hit
about
your
a 3-footer
corks.
right where I was fishing the other day, but I also catch largemouth bass in the same area. So, there you go.
We
It's a
catch them a
mystery
lot in the
pond.
summer. Bycatch, you catch them a lot in the summer.
A lot.
Like one or two a trip. They're everywhere.
Keeps that reel spinning, doesn't it?
There you go,
They'll
man.
save a day sometime.
Yes, sir.
Hey, no doubt. Man, the Real Fishing Report is always a blast to have Tim Braddock in the building with us, and he always brings some great guests on with him as well. We have it each and every Friday right here on ESPN Northwest Florida at 4:20 for Tim Braddock and Captain Justin Jones. Man, you guys, y'all have a great weekend. And
thank y'all.
Yeah, and everyone out there, man, y'all go get your lines wet out there. Bay Breeze, Bait and Tackle, Tim Braddock. We're going to take a quick time out. We'll be right back with our traffic jam and trivia.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
Tonight, exciting interleague play returns as the red-hot Atlanta Braves take on the Toronto Blue Jays. First pitch at 6:07, right after the Afternoon Underdogs. On the official radio station for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast. On the official radio station for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your weather forecast on this Friday. A likelihood of thunderstorms and partly cloudy the remainder of the day with a gentle breeze at 11 miles per hour coming out of the south and temps near 83. We will have partly cloudy skies tonight and be warm at 72. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
At Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, you can find all the necessary items for an unforgettable fishing experience. From pin rods and reels to the best hand-tied rigs in Florida, we have it all. With the help of our friendly and knowledgeable staff, you can be sure that you have the right gear to make that big catch. Come experience a great local bait and tackle shop located directly off 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach, located just 5 miles west of Pier Park.
If you spend any time at all in your yard, you're going to encounter fire ants.
We know they can ruin a party. That's why we're this area's experts at fire ant elimination.
As your certified top choice professional, we will rid your yard of these unwanted invaders. Brock Pest is so sure they'll get rid of fire ants that they offer a 1-year guarantee.
Enjoy your yard fire ant free. We guarantee it. Give us a call for your free consultation.
Brock Lawn and Pest Control, our family protecting yours since 1968.
ESPN Northwest Florida. The tradition continues.
It is a walk-off home run for Sean Murphy into the Braves bullpen.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdog.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Yes, sir. It's the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida. 104.3 Panama City, 101.9 on the Forgotten Coast. That's Port St. Joe, Mexico Beach area over that way. Your Atlanta Braves were off last night. They split a 2-game set with the Boston Red Sox, and now they're on their way to Canada. Well, they're in Canada, and we'll be taking on the Toronto Blue Jays tonight. Chris Bassett going for the Jays. He is 4-2 with an ERA of 4.28. Spencer Strider on the bump for the Bravos. He's 4-0 with an ERA of 2.70. Over under 7.5 strikeouts for Spencer Strider tonight versus that tough Toronto Blue Jays offense.
I'm going to go under, man. They've got some hitters on that lineup.
Yes, same. And I also, don't want the Braves to do so hot.
I feel that.
We need to gain some ground.
I'm going to say over just because he's been at 8 or better for the entire, for every start this year. So we'll see how it keeps on playing out. Maybe I should have just stayed mum there so that he'll actually get to the over 7.5.
You know what happened
last
week? Max Fried, you talked about him, and then he gave it up from home runs.
Not only that, then he ends up on the IL. So goodness gracious. They put him on the 15-day IL, retroacted to May 6th. And it still looks like he could be out for a month or more, or even longer than that. And
well, I mean, it's a good thing y'all got that young talent in there with Elder and everything else.
Bryce Elder has been the surprise of the year.
Dylan Dodd coming back, so I think you'll be fine. I mean, you're playing it in a division right now where it's basically you guys and everybody else cannibalizing each other.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody seemingly has the same record right now. They're very, very inconsistent, where the Braves have been consistent all year long. So if it keeps up that way, you all might have the division locked up by like July.
I'll let you say that. We heard what the Mets were saying around this time of the year. Then you got to the All-Star break, and it's still looking that way. And then really you get to the last 3 series of the year, and that's when everything kind of changed as far as fate goes for the Atlanta Braves. And speaking of that, the Atlanta Braves are sponsored locally by Bill Bird Kia, reliable hydraulic solutions, Mid-South Lumber, Store More, Portable Buildings, and Brock Pest Control. So tonight, first pitch is at 6:20, coverage starting at 6 o'clock. Make sure that you're tuned in for your Atlanta Braves. That should be a great series. Phillies just took 2 of 2 from the Blue Jays. One of those on a Bo Bichette throwing error. I believe it was in extra innings at that point in time. I think it was either in the bottom of the 9th or it was in the bottom of the 10th because the Phillies walked it off there on that throwing error.
If you're the Blue Jays, how long do you put up with him at short?
Well, his bat is so good that so it's like, can we put you in another position? I don't know, man. I really don't know the answer to that because of this age that we're in baseball, where unless you're the Atlanta Braves, offense means so much more than what defense does. But and the reason why I say that with the Braves, Vaughn Grissom has the best bat as a shortstop of the 3 guys. Now, his inadequate defense is what leads to his shortcomings when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. But that's why Orlando Arcia is the shortstop for the Braves, is because he's better defensively.
I don't know Bichette's making, but I mean, you still always have the DH. So if the bat's working, you can still just have him do that, and he can still contribute to the team offensively. So.
Right, but the problem is they've got Dalton Varsho, who can catch, who can play basically
outfield,
any position on the field. So he's taking up a roster spot because you got to keep his bat in the lineup as well. You got Vlad either DHing or first. So if he's not at first, then he's DHing. So maybe you swap Bichette, teach him how to play first, like they did in Moneyball with Scott Hatteberg. We're going to make you a first baseman.
You could do that. I mean,
but you can't use his bat, obviously.
I feel like
his
if you're a shortstop, I don't know. But he could have the talent to play in one of the corner outfield positions as well. But we'll see how all of that plays out. I just think with the way that the Blue Jays are playing ball, as long as his bat is going well, they'll take a few of the errors. But at what cost does that come, leaving a guy who doesn't have who's putting a lot of errors up? How long are you going to let him stay there in one of the best positions in the sport of Major League Baseball? So definitely looking forward tonight to the Braves and the Blue Jays. That should be a heck of a 3-game series. Let's open it up with some traffic jam and trivia here. And you should, if you were listening to the show yesterday, you should know the answer to this question. It should be very easy.
I thought you were going to wait a little while before you use this one.
Well, that's the one that actually has to do with how numbers were introduced to sports. That's the one that I'm gonna and maybe I said that about this yesterday, but it just so happened that Dan Gartland, who does the Sports Illustrated thing that I receive in my inbox every morning, SIAM is what it's called, and he put that in his newsletter today as a trivia question. So I was like, well, you know what, let's just run with it and let's see how many of the listeners were paying attention yesterday. On May 11th, 1977, with his team mired in a 16-game losing streak, which Major League Baseball owner put on a uniform and managed his team from the dugout? Was it George Steinbrenner? Was it Bill Vick, Ted Turner, or Ewing Kauffman? 850-215-6290, and that will get you $25 to the break room, a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock, and some Dave and Buster swag to go along with that. And the Braves update was brought to you by the Break Room. And the special today is air fried chicken. And over the weekend, they have wings for $1. So that's not 12 wings for $1, but that's 12 wings for $12, which is a great price. Always the drink, the specials Monday through Friday are $12. You get your drink with that, and you get a side. It's a beautiful setting there. You can go play some pool on your lunch break as well, and you're going to be getting food prepared by Chef Ross, which if any of you out there has had anything that Chef Ross has made, you know that it's great stuff. And
I've had the meatloaf on Tuesdays.
Is it great?
Yeah, it's really, really good.
I mean, so there you go, guys. Y'all get over there to the Break Room. It's in the old Vic Sports Bar, or the Purple Turtle. That one always comes up. So right over there. But we're going to get over to We're going to get over to Rob, who's on the line with the Afternoon Underdogs. What's the answer for the trivia question on May 11th, 19th?
Hey, man, I was listening yesterday, but I already knew this one.
Yes, sir.
I've been a Braves fan forever. It's Ted Turner.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. This is Lynn Haven, Rob, right?
Correct.
All right. Hey, Lynn Haven,
Traffic
Rob.
jam and trivia with the
Traffic
horn.
jam and trivia. Bone Crusher always on top
Road
of
rage.
things. Hey, Lynn Haven, Rob, thanks so much for the call, and you are the big winner, and you've just got $25 to the break room, so you can go try that place out one time when you're working at a job around there.
There you go, man. That's what I was wanting.
Awesome, man. Well,
All
can't
right,
wait
Dave.
to see you. You take care, buddy. All right. Yankee John or Johnny Yankee Seed. I'm giving this guy so many nicknames. It's kind of like when I first started the show and had a new nickname every day, it felt like. He says, do we think the Rangers are a threat to the Astros this year? And I would like to say yes. I would like to say yes, but DeGrom being with what's he got 10 to 15 more days before he gets back,
Who
or a
knows
few
with
more
that
weeks
guy?
exactly. And that's why I said I'm so glad that the Atlanta Braves did not try to go after him. But my thing is just like the Phillies. Like, you can't look at the Phillies right now and be like, oh, their season's done. They're not as good as what people expected. Like, it's like saying that about the Yankees. Like, the Yankees they were 18 and 17 going into this series with the A's, and now, of course, they get to beat up on the A's, and you're going to see better out of the Yankees. And obviously, it helps when Aaron Judge gets off of the injured list. So for me, it's the Astros are still the favorite in the West for me. I mean, yeah, you got the Rangers and the Mariners over there above them, but I'm not going to be surprised at all for the Astros to be there at the end of the year on top of the American League West.
History tells me that the Rangers aren't just going to do it. I mean, they've just been one of those franchises just can't get over the hump. So I don't know. I can't expect that they were going to do it now.
I feel like the Rangers have the entire team to do it. I mean, they're young, but they've got veterans in certain spots like Nate Lowe, Corey Seager.
He's coming back next week,
right? So they're getting him back. So right now they're 23 and 14. The only blemish on their season so far is getting swept in a 3-game series by my Reds. The rest of the season they've been phenomenal. But I mean, Arubio Duran, Leody Tavares, Marcus Semien is another one of those veterans like Seager that can do it. I mean, they've got the lineup. Nathan Eovaldi has had a resurgence since he's gotten down there. He pitched extremely well yesterday. I was watching that game last night. Granted, it was the A's, but still. Will Smith, former Atlanta Brave, is the back half of that bullpen as well. He's pitching well right now. So they've got the tools. It's just whether or not they can keep it through the rest of the season. But the toughest thing for the Astros is going to be, are these replacement pieces that they've gotten in this year, such as a Jose Abreu, who I think has 3 extra base hits on the year right now. I mean, that's not what they're paying him those millions of dollars to do.
Oh, and you know how
so
it goes
that's
when
where
these...
the Astros are going to suffer. They don't have Altuve, so what's his status going to be moving forward? I mean, he has the broken wrist, I think it was. He suffered.
It was
in
either
the
a
World
wrist or
Baseball
thumb.
Classic. Maybe it was a thumb. But what's he going to be? What's he going to look like when he gets back? So it's a tough division out there, I think, minus the A's. But we'll see. We'll see how Houston ends up recuperating, because Jose Abreu going over there looked like a really, really good move, but it's not paying dividends.
It could still pan out to be, but a lot of the times when these guys get these big contracts, that's what they played for, was the big contract. Now that they've got it, and in the sport of baseball,
a little bit.
yeah, especially, I mean, you're like, man, well, I don't want to get hurt, and you take your foot off of the gas, and you've already got it in the world of baseball.
Or you worked extra hard
money.
last year in the contract year to get that big deal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so there's so many things there, but for the Astros to be in this position and only be 4 games behind the Rangers with all of those shortcomings, if you will, I think to me that signifies that things are going to be looking better. But hey, now, just because I think that doesn't mean I want that. I would rather see any of the other 4 teams representing the American League West and not the Houston Astros. And as much as I agree with everyone else too, we would all like to see Shohei and Mike Trout and the Angels win the AL West. I just don't think that that's going to happen. And I mentioned the Mariners. It's actually the Rangers, the Angels, then the Astros, and the Mariners now are 18 and 19. So they're a game behind the Astros, and then the Athletics there haven't even got to double digit wins to this point in the season. But it is about time for a break here. I want to remind you guys that we've got 3 amazing local shows right here on the air Monday through Friday, starting it off with the Coach James Hale Show. That's every morning from 7 to 9 Monday through Friday. Then the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley. They go from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then we wrap up the day Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 is the Afternoon Underdogs. And when we return, it's going to be hour number 2. We're going to be talking with the running back from Sneeds, Jason Patterson. Keep it locked in to ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida is already your home for the most live and local sports talk. And now we're taking...
Oh, he got all of that one.
The Inside Drive. Ryan Mulvey, middays, 11 to 1 inside the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios. The latest reactions to the biggest stories happening right now. Plus, interviews, sports betting, and your calls.
He's got to be pleased with that.
On ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your weather forecast on this Friday. A likelihood of thunderstorms and partly cloudy the remainder of the day with a gentle breeze at 11 miles per hour coming out of the south and temps near 83. We will have partly cloudy skies tonight and be warm at 72. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
Mid-South Lumber, where they treat you like family. Locally owned and serving the residents of Bay County for over 45 years. See Mid-South Lumber for all of your DIY projects, including windows, doors, siding, lumber, and millwork. Are you building a new home? Bring your contractor in to Mid-South Lumber and meet with a member of their sales team to discuss your framing, siding, windows, and doors. Mid-South Lumber, the biggest little lumber yard in Panama City.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WTOT, W271DM Mariana, WVLQ Port St. Joe, Powerlet SC.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The battle for a 6th straight division crown starts right now, and the East already knows don't sleep on the Atlanta Braves.
Next pitch to Riley. Swung on, hammered to deep center. He's at the track, he's at the wall. Home run!
Tonight, the Braves are back on the road for another AL battle as they roll into Rogers Center to take on the Toronto Blue Jays.
Coverage starts tonight at 6 on your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast. ESPN Northwest Florida.
We don't sell the steak.
You can stir this all up.
We sell the sizzle. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
Very spicy.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
What's going on, Northwest Florida? It's the Afternoon Underdogs. It's hour number 2 here. I'm David Hayes along with AG. That's Adam Goff, Caveman Rick, and the Bone Crusher. This is ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 in Panama City and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. Now on the line with us, we have Jason Patterson. He's the running back over there at Sneeds High School, and he's got a lot of offers going on right now. But let's talk to Jason. Jason, how's it going, my friend?
It's going good right now. I'm in Atlanta currently right now, visiting the Georgia Tech tomorrow.
Well, let's go, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I see that you got Boston College, Cincinnati, Rutgers, Stanford, App State, and I'm sure there's others that we're just not privy to right now, like you're taking a visit to Georgia Tech. That's awesome, man. And you've averaged, this is what's insane to me is looking at your stats, because last year was the first year that I actually heard about you, and you had that monster game against Arnold, but you've averaged 11.8 yards per carry in your career. What's been the key to your success?
The key to my success has really been mostly my offensive line. You know, a lot of critical to them guys, for what they do. you know, because I'm nothing without my offensive line. So I put most of my credit to them, you know, just trusting my skills, trusting my coach, and just continue to do what I do.
I love that answer, man. What are you looking forward to the most for the season of 2023?
I just want to be more of a leader this year. Set a good example for the young guys coming up. This is my senior year. You know, everybody goes to win the state championship. You know, and that's a goal. That's a dream. You know what I'm saying? But my goal, realistically, is to, you know, be a better leader. You know what I'm saying? Vocal, action leader to the younger guys to keep the Snead tradition going on.
And last year, you guys went on a tear, having a record of 11-1. What's the key? How do you build on such a great season? How are you guys? What's the key to building on that for 2023?
We know what it takes to win. You know, so like we know what it takes to get there. You know, because we got like this year we have 17 seniors, so we got a lot of guys returning. So the guys that return, we know what it takes to win. So the guys that we got that coming in that's new or any new transfers, we just show them guys what it takes to win so they understand where we're coming from.
Right on, Jason. Thanks for giving us some of your time today. What would you say is one of your strengths in your running game, and who would you say is a good like NFL comparison or like a college comparison for your style?
One of my strengths in my running game is my vision. People say I got good vision. I got good feet. Them two things set me apart because, you know, you can see the hole and you can hit the hole, and then you can hit it at a good speed. And a lot of people, college comparison, people compare me to Bijan Robinson.
Oh, there you go. That's not a bad person to be compared to. Right on. Word.
Let's go, man.
Number 8 overall pick. Hey, Jason, so with that being said, is your focus this year becoming more of a complete back in terms of catching passes out of the backfield, more blocking, just kind of showing some D1 schools what you can do in terms of not just being able to run the ball?
Oh yes, so that's all. You know, that's always the goal to show that you know you're versatile. You know, you could catch it. You can. I mean, they know I can run it. They want to see if I can catch it, cannot block. You know, and in college, that's what you do. You know, and when you're not running the ball, so you know, of course, you want to show that aspect of your game.
I love it, man. Again, we're talking with Jason Patterson. He's the running back over there at Sneads High School. It's his senior year. Last year as a junior, ran the ball 206 times and had 2,714 rushing yards. Oh, that's impressive. Wait till I tell you the touchdowns. 35 rushing touchdowns, and this is just all his junior year, y'all. You also run track and you play basketball as well, Jason. Did you play track and did you run track and play basketball in your junior year as well? Or yeah, you played both of those in your junior year. Did you do that for your senior year as well?
Well, I don't know if I'm doing my senior year because my senior year is coming up.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm mixed up right now.
We're still early May, Dave. Early May.
Yeah, you mean my sophomore year?
Yeah. Well, no,
you plan on playing basketball and running track next year?
Do you plan on playing?
Okay. Not, as of right now, I don't know. I just plan early enrolled into the college that I picked. So right now, as I say, I don't know if I'm going to play basketball or run track. But I knew I have a track state meet. My track state meet is next Wednesday.
Oh, awesome, man. Well, good luck there. And so I asked that to ask you this. What part of track, you maybe be it in practice or when you're actually at the meets, what part of that have you translated and used on the football field?
Well, track, I can say my speed, you know, because I run a 10.9 in the 100. So running 10.9, 200 pounds, you know, that's impressive. I feel like my speed is what I can use in football. And basketball, you know, the lateral movement from side to side, you know, for me, just, you know, seeing the whole go different ways, basketball team that, you know, and the explosiveness, you know, trying to jump up to get the rebound, stuff like that.
I love it, man. Which game on the schedule this year do you have circled and cannot wait for here for 2023?
October 6th, we play Bluntstown and Bluntstown. You know, they got a couple guys over there that I know highly recruited. And then that'll be the last in the playoffs, so Bluntstown.
Let's go, man. Hey, Jason, good luck on the season, and thanks so much for giving us some of your time.
Yes, sir.
All right, that is Jason Patterson, y'all. He's a running back. He plays. It's going to be a senior year coming up, being that it's been 10 years since I've been in high school. I cannot believe I just bluffed that up so bad. But yeah, so he's still technically in his junior year right now, and he's going to be a senior next year. Looking forward to that Bluntstown game. That's going to be a lot of fun, man.
What's
He had a heck of a
Florida State
season.
record for single season yards and career in high school? Do they keep that going back very far?
Oh yeah, they definitely have those.
So
I'll
he
have
had
to look those up.
2,700 last year.
2,700 yards.
Can he get 3,000 this year? You know, like what's the record?
Why couldn't he? I believe that I would like to say that they break it down by class, but I know that some guy out of Yulee probably holds one of those records. But we'll have to look into that and find that out during the break. But we're not ready for a break just yet. So that was Jason Patterson again, running back out of Sneads. He's going to be a senior for this upcoming football season. That was a lot of fun. He's highly recruited too as well. He's a 3-star right now, but 24/7's got him as the 25th best running back overall, 48th best athlete in the state of Florida. So, you know, he can definitely build upon that. We're talking about a guy who's 5'11", 200 pounds, and then you talk about his he's got speed out of this world. Just go to 247 Sports or just type in Jason Patterson in your Google search bar, and it'll take you here to 247 Sports, and you can watch his highlight film, and it's 5 minutes of just oh wow, yeah, this guy's pretty daggum good. But we'll look up the answers to the records here in a little bit, and I'm sure that if we have any listeners out there right now, they could put us on game and just text us the link to 850-215-6290. The NFL schedule released last night, and so let's go over some of these over-unders here. And we'll start off with the 3 teams with the highest over-under numbers at this point in time. So the Cincinnati Bengals, we'll start with them. Their over-under is 11.5, and they're split even when it comes to the odds at -110. So they could go over, they could go under here. Let's start with you, AG. What do you see from the Bengals this year as far as an over-under goes?
I think it's over that, honestly. I mean, we've got the Bills coming in. We have to go to Kansas City week 17. The Ravens are on a Thursday night at Jacksonville on a Monday night. So that's kind of our toughest part of our schedule. Pittsburgh is obviously their big rivalry. But, I mean, if you take away the appendectomy games last season that Burrow had to start out the year, you know, Dallas, Pittsburgh.
There's a lot less Let's Go Burrows in the group, that's for sure.
100%, right. So, you know, you take those losses away, and the Bengals are vying for the number 1 seed last season in the playoffs. So, barring any unforeseen, like we talked about earlier, any unforeseen injuries, anything like that, I like what they've done in the draft and what they've done with the offensive line. So, I think 11.5 is a good number. I understand why they put it there, but I'm at 12 wins.
I like that, man, and I'm sitting here looking at it, and the good thing is you really don't have any stretches of just tough road games, right? I mean, you've got a couple of back-to-back road games.
At the Niners coming off of a bye week, with Niners, I think, are week 8.
Yeah.
So that one's going to be tough, but, you know, Minnesota comes in.
Yeah, I mean, you're tough. I think your only back-to-back road games, well, you've got Pittsburgh and Kansas City late in the year at week 16 and week 17, and that week 17 there at Arrowhead is going to be a game that all eyes are on. Joe Burrow, Pat Mahomes, that everyone's going to be watching that one. So that, you know, and Kansas City being the second half of that doubleheader, or not doubleheader, but back-to-back road games could prove to you know, be problematic, if you will, because the Steelers aren't just a team. First off, it's a divisional rival, and then secondarily, the Steelers are a team that's gonna find a way to get to at least 500 ball, or these days 500 or better.
I mean, we saw drastic improvements during the back half of the season for Kenny Pickett. You know, Pickens is only going to get better, I think. That defense is vaunted. It is a very, very good defense. They've made some moves in the offseason and particularly the draft to kind of shore up that offensive line. So Pittsburgh's always going to be a tough out. I mean, there's only a few games that have been, you know, kind of blowouts, and that happened the year we made the Super Bowl run. So, but yeah, I think I think the schedule works out well. Like you said, there's not a whole lot of tough stretches, like the Eagles have per se.
Right.
But there are still opportunities where you're going to see a potential struggle. And the Bengals seemingly always have that one game every season where they just you scratch your head and you go, what the hell happened?
Just about everybody's got a game like that,
right.
just about every season. But
Right.
I think Vegas did pretty good on this one. It's kind of tough. I mean, I'm right there, 11, 12 wins. I'm thinking it's about, what they're going to get at the end of the season. If I had to guess, I'm going to say over. I think a few other teams are going to take a step back. They're a team that fell a little short last year, so I'm thinking they might actually go a little bit further than Bengals, while some other teams might take a step back.
Yeah, this one's actually tough for me because when I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, Baltimore though, that one's you guys got them at the house, but it's the second game of the season. I think you easily take week 1, right? I don't want to say easily. Who knows what the Cleveland Browns are going to look like, or if you watch the Tennessee Titans schedule release, the football team, what they're going to look like. That's one of the guys' answers for the Cleveland Browns was, that's got to be the football team. So I think that you guys handle Cleveland or handle week 1, at least a 7-point spread there. Not that the spread.
No pun intended. Week 2 is a coin flip.
Yeah, week 2 is a coin flip though. I like you guys against. Yes, I love that. I like you guys against the Rams, but again, the Rams are one of those teams that no one knows. We don't know if Matt Stafford comes back and has one of those. You're talking about Nathan Eovaldi and his resurgence. Well, Matt Stafford could very well be capable of.
I think that's a losing team this year,
and it very well could be. But right now, the verdict for me, like my verdict, is out on that one because if Stafford and Kupp are healthy, it's a dangerous.
San Francisco's good. Seattle's still doing pretty good. Of course. You got the woes over there with the Cardinals. I don't think they're really going to do a whole lot, but that's still a decent division. I think the Rams are going to have some problems. They had their day in the spotlight. They got to their Super Bowl, and now they're paying the price for giving up what they, used to get there.
Very well could be, but on the flip side of that, there's no for sure answer for the San Francisco 49ers right now.
And it's Sean McVay, people.
Yeah,
and
it is
Sean McVay.
It is Sean McVay. You would have liked to see more out of Sean McVay and the Rams last year, even dealing with the Rams because of that point. But my thing is with the 49ers is we don't know who the guy is going to be if it's Trey Lance to start the year because Brock Purdy's not 100% healthy. That's still a big question mark.
Darnold.
And still, guys, there is still the fact that last year was a very small sample size from Brock Purdy, and as good as he looked for a little while there,
there's another year of tape on him.
Yeah, there's just so many factors
McCaffrey
there.
get hurt again.
But I think that at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, the 49ers, just the way that Kyle Shanahan, you talk about McVay, well, the way that Kyle Shanahan has those 49ers set up, that you can get a guy walking off the street. Josh Johnson could come back and run this team, to a first place finish
maybe
in the NFC. Yeah, maybe, but still with all of the other weapons. But with the
Bengals, the over
under, I'm going to say at this point in time, over. At this point in time, and I didn't really, get to go through every single one here and see how I feel about it, but for the most part, I got to 5 or 6, and I'm like, okay, looking at the rest of the schedule, I could very well see you get into 12 there. So I'm going to say over right now, but I wouldn't put any, I would never go to an 11.5 team and even think about putting money there unless I was for sure they were going to be under. Like the Kansas City Chiefs here, they're over 11.5 games as well. Same as the Cincinnati Bengals, just right there with the San Francisco 49ers. So what do you got on the Kansas City Chiefs, Caveman Rick? Would they be over or under 11.5 games?
Man, of course you want to say under. They've been doing so good for so long. I haven't looked exactly at, their complete schedule. Just knowing how Andy Reid game plans, early on in the season, I believe he wins, over like 75% of his games in September. So they're going to come out strong and start off really well. So it's going to be, how they play later on in the season. Once, you start playing in inclement weather, you start seeing how things go, like injury wise and stuff. Hopefully Mahomes, will, stay healthy, not have any, ankle or, any reoccurrences of the injury from last year. So I'm just going to say over 2. 11.5, I think is pretty close. I think they're going to probably do about 12 wins, so I'll say over for Kansas City Chiefs.
I think it's over just because it's Mahomes. You can't ever count the dude out, but they have a tough stretch to start off the season. The Lions, who are up and coming, you've got at Jacksonville, which could be a tough game. then the Bears, obviously, and then they're at the Jets, right? So the 3 of their first 4 weeks are going to be against teams that finished above 500 last year. So it's going to be a tough stretch. They've got the Dolphins. They've got your Eagles coming into Arrowhead, or as I like to call it, Burrowhead. And then
how'd that work out for them?
3-1 against them right now, buddy. They've got the Bills coming in. Obviously, the Bengals, like we talked about, are coming in. And they've still got to play the Chargers twice. Raiders, I'm discounting. Whether Brady comes there or not, it's not going to matter. And then the Broncos, we'll see what happens.
It all just comes down to Mahomes. He stays healthy, they're going to win 100%. Probably, like 70% of their games.
Right. Yeah, so when I'm looking at it, I've got the over there too, and I think that it finishes at a cool 12-5. 12-5 is what I like from him. But again, you said the magic words. With Pat Mahomes, you wouldn't be surprised to see a 13-4 or even a 14-3 type season out of the Kansas City Chiefs. It's really going to be how is that wide receiver, how healthy is Travis Kelce going to be? Of course, he hasn't showed any type of signs of slowing down, but
maybe this will be the year.
I mean, this could be the year, and then if he does go down, or how will that wide receiving core aid Travis Kelce into being the best that he can be as far as the target goes for Patrick Mahomes. Let's go to a different team here other than the San Francisco 49ers. We can bounce back to them here in a little bit, but what about a team like the Detroit Lions, who their number is set at 9 right now? No hook on this one, but do you like the Detroit Lions to be over or under 9 wins this season? What you got, K-Man?
I'm going to say they're going to regress. They've been doing pretty good for like the last season and a half. I think people starting to gun for them. They have a bit of a target on their back now. The division, though, is opening up a little bit for them with Green Bay not doing so well. Of course, the Chicago Bears are going to be better. Minnesota, I think, is on the downswing. I don't think they're as good as they once were maybe the last couple of years. I think they're going to start to kind of fade a little bit, being with Dalvin Cook up in age, Kirk Cousins up in age. So I think they say 9.5 wins. I hate to really say that they're going to get less for fantasy purposes and stuff too, but I do think they're going to regress a little bit. I think they just do 9 wins, just 1.
I'm right there with you, bro. Looking at the schedule and especially having 2 out of your last 3 games against the Minnesota Vikings, who you could make the argument are the favorite. Or I wouldn't even say it's an argument, right? Minnesota won last year. Are they the favorite of the NFC North this year? The only other team that could rival them on that has got to be the Detroit Lions. So, those answers, those questions will be answered late in the season. But the way that I see it right now, 9-8, because not only do you have Minnesota 2 of your last 3 weeks, but Dallas is there, and we can say whatever we want about Dallas, but the problems really come in the postseason for Dallas. Detroit, being in Jerry's world, Sunday Night Football, I like Dallas on December 30th late in the season, but I like Detroit to go 9-8, so I'd push right there.
I'm at over. If you look at their schedule, they've got the NFC. Obviously, they got the NFC North. We have no idea what we're going to get out of Jordan Love. I'm with Rick. I think Minnesota is defensively just absolutely terrible. And then you've got the Bears, which could be a shocking team, but I doubt it. And then their other NFC divisions that they play everybody is the NFC South. So they play the NFC South and they play the AFC West. So you got the Chargers in there twice, or you got the Chargers in there, you got the Raiders in there. There's 2 wins. They play the NFC South. That's 3 out of 4 wins right there. That's 5. Now you got their division where they could win upwards of 5 games there. That's 10.
Well, I don't know about that. You got a dome team at Detroit, and now if they're going down, even if they're playing in some games, like in Tampa Bay, outside or something like that.
It is on the road at Tampa.
Dome teams typically don't do well outside, especially in inclement weather. So depending on that, that can be a detriment to their.
I just like the way that they're trending right now.
Yeah, I love the way that they're
I'm going to go over 9.
Yeah, and I'll take that all day. I'm going to push at 9 and Caveman Rick as well. We're going to take a timeout. When we return, it's going to be time to talk with Courtney Mims. She's a weekend sports anchor reporter for Pig Trail Nation, and we're going to be talking about the SEC tournament in softball. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Your attention, please. ESPN Northwest Florida reminds you it's the law. It's the law. When there's a double red flag, Stay out of the water, stick your toes in the sand, grab a cold drink, and listen to live sports.
Swung on, miss, strike 3.
On 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Double play!
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Friday evening. As we head into tonight, some clouds and a low of 72 with a light breeze out of the east at 5 miles per hour. For tomorrow morning, some sun and a temp near 80. In the afternoon and evening, a possibility of thunderstorms and some sun and a high around 83. This weather forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
Ben and Deb Collins, owners of Bay Guns and Gear, have been in business since 2010, offering new firearms and accessories with a huge selection available for your hunting needs and personal defense. Turn to Bay Guns and Gear. They have the weapon for you. Discount pricing. And if you can't find what you're looking for, they'll special order it for you. Bay Guns and Gear, across from Grease Pro at 3115 Highway 77. Visit their website, baygunsandgear.com.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Call in with your questions, hot takes, and rants at 850-215-6290.
I'm sure that most of you have used a dial telephone before.
The Sports Talk Monster.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida. We're on 104.3 in Panama City, 101.9 on the Forgotten Coast. And we are the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes along with AG, Adam Goff, Caveman Rick, and Bone Crushers in the building with us. Now welcoming into the studio, Courtney Mims. She's the weekend sports anchor and reporter for Pig Trail Nation, and also working with KNWA Fox 24 and KARK for news. Courtney, how's it been going? You might remember Courtney, ladies and gentlemen, from Channel 13 around here, WMBB. What's going on, Courtney?
Oh, it's going good. Just having a great time covering the SEC softball tournament here in Fayetteville this week. So it has been a really fun week up here in Arkansas. But, yeah, I miss all you guys over there in Panama City for sure.
One of the best times of the year is the Women's College World Series, and we're inching closer here with the SEC tournament that you're covering. Who needed a strong tournament to get into the championship field?
Honestly, all of the SEC is such an incredible field this year. I mean, you look at that conference and it's completely stacked. I mean, there is no team that has been playing in this tournament that probably shouldn't be in the postseason. But again, I mean, you kind of look, South Carolina is one that I think a lot of people would say, hey, you need a strong showing to get a bid to a regional, and they've looked really, really good. They ended up going to the semifinals, playing against Auburn right now. So last time I checked, Auburn was up 2-1 in that game. But I would say South Carolina was one of those teams that needed to look really, really good. Arkansas's in. You look at Florida, where they lost to Tennessee today, and they didn't really need to go all the way to get into a regional. I think, most predictions have them going, so they didn't really need a strong turnout. Arkansas didn't need a strong turnout. And then you've got the other ones that you have, your Tennessees, your Auburns, that have looked really good all season long. Even Alabama, right, that are showing up constantly throughout the season in those regional predictions. So really, I think South Carolina's kind of been the underdog, that's a 10 seed that's gone all the way to the semifinals. So it'd be really cool to see them close it out against Auburn and move on to that championship game. We'll see how that one goes. But I honestly don't think there's really another team that needed a really, really positive showing in this tournament, because you have all of these SEC teams that are showing up in the regional predictions, even some super regional predictions as well. So honestly, I really think this is a stacked conference this year. And if you ask any coach, they will tell you the exact same thing. There is no lack of talent in SEC softball this season.
I love it. You mentioned South Carolina there and the impressive run that they've had in this tournament. Who's been the key to their run for their season?
Honestly, it's a lot of things going for them. Their pitching has been absolutely lights out and has been so incredible. It's been awesome to watch them, really, because you've seen them throughout the season. They've gone up and down. They've lost some series, and you know, that's why they got a 10 seed in this tournament. But their pitching has driven them through the last couple of weeks of their regular season, and now in the postseason, it is looking absolutely incredible. I talk a lot about Alabama's pitching because Montana Fouts is really just an incredible pitcher to watch for them. She got hurt in last night's game against Arkansas. Still waiting to find out what really was going on there with her. But South Carolina's pitching, seriously, you want to see them in a regional because that they are a team that might make a run. This SEC tournament, I think, has proven to anybody that they deserve a spot in the postseason, and it really is because of that pitching. They have held teams to, you know, a couple of runs each game. I mean, they really have given it their all when it comes to pitching and their defense. I think that has truly been what has driven them in this tournament and will drive them to possibly get a postseason bid.
Yeah, and Alabama and Arkansas played in that baseball game on the softball diamond last night, 9 innings. But you mentioned Montana Fouts, the ace, going down in the 7th. How big of a blow is that to the Lady Tide as they get prepped here for the Women's College World Series?
Well, it's a huge blow. I mean, she is the strikeout queen, as I call her, right? Over 300 strikeouts this season. She has been so lights out for the Tide. It's just an incredible pitcher all around. So sound, has great stuff. And her going down. I mean, I was watching that game. I was there till midnight, you know, and it was tough to see her go down, especially because she wanted to close out that game against Arkansas. She even after she got hurt, she pitched. You know, she was like, "Okay, I'm good. Let me pitch a couple of more." She tried a couple of pitches, and that's when she really had to say, "You know what? No, this is it. I'm hurting myself further." And they made the decision to take her out of the game. She was in full tears. You could see how badly she wanted it. And honestly, you have to respect a competitor like that. Any competitor, really, that truly wants to do everything they can for their team. Luckily, it ended up working out for the Crimson Tide there with that matchup with Arkansas going down to the end, like you said, 9 innings, past midnight game, you know, so late one there. But it really was tough to see Montana go out. I really hope she is okay. We haven't gotten a clear update on really what the injury was. She kept holding her leg when she was out there a couple of times. So I'll be curious to see what's going on with her. But, man, just a competitor that you hate to see go out of a game like that one.
This is Caveman Rick Courtney. Thank you for giving us some of your time again today. The Hogs won't repeat as SEC champs, but how did their season prepare them for this postseason?
They have had a lot of tough matchups this whole year. The thing I love about the way Courtney Deifel and her staff set up the schedule is they don't make it easy on them every single year in and year out. That's kind of what Courtney tries to do with that team. So she sends them to really tough environments early on. She sent them to a tournament in Vegas that was really tough on them. She sent them to that tournament in Clearwater that they faced FSU and Duke. And obviously we know now those are two of the top teams in the ACC, right? FSU and Duke competing for a championship over in that conference. So she set them up for success very early on. And they took it down to the wire with some of these teams. Look, you look at Tennessee right now, who is still playing in the SEC tournament, one of the number 1 seed in the SEC right now. And they beat them in the regular series in Fayetteville. So they have been battle-tested this year, and that is what Courtney likes to do. They have set themselves up to be a postseason contender, no matter which way you slice it or dice it. Now, maybe they won't host a super regional. They might be a 12-13 seed is what we're seeing right now. But they really have solidified themselves as a team to beat no matter what's happened this year. The thing about Arkansas that everyone has said, Courtney Deifel recruited really well in the offseason, but they have such a young roster. A lot of their lineup is freshmen. A lot of their pitching, freshmen. You have Shanice Dells, right, who was the SEC Pitcher of the Year last year, who's really leading that team, Hannah Gamble as well. But you don't really have a lot of other really senior leadership on that squad. So that's what I think the battle has been with this Razorback squad this year, is getting that good leadership, because they have so many young players that they need to develop, and they have been developing throughout the season.
Hey, Courtney, AG here. The Hogs are currently projected to be in the FSU Regional. What has impressed you with the Noles this year, and how are they looking in the ACC tourney?
The Noles have impressed me in every which way. Honestly, I think that scares a few people in Arkansas to see that projection, because you look at that and go, man, FSU is such a complete team. They have literally everything. They have, when it comes to offense, they're it. When it comes to pitching, they're it. And I think that's really, that's been the story with FSU softball for the past few seasons. They are just such a complete team. It's what Courtney Deifel said about them very recently. She said, we faced a lot of complete teams this year. Tennessee, one of them. FSU, the other one. So I think they have everything they need to make a run and make a Women's College World Series and possibly even win the whole thing. So that's a little scary when you talk to some Razorback fans. They're like, do we want to go to FSU? Do we want to be in FSU's regional and super regional? I don't know. They don't, I don't think they really like that idea. My boss loves it, though, because she is a big Seminole fan and a Seminole graduate. So she's like, let's head to Tallahassee. We'll love that. We'll go over there. We'll have a great time.
That is great stuff. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're chatting with Courtney Mims. She's a reporter for Pig Trail Nation, covering the Arkansas Razorbacks. Oklahoma, again, they lose the best player in the game last year in Jocelyn Allo. How do they still maintain this level of success that they've been on now for, seems like, forever?
It goes back to the coaching staff. Their coaching staff is one of the best when it comes to softball, and they continually, year in, year out, recruit people, get people from the transfer portal to make up for the loss of such a great player like that. You look at Oklahoma, again, they've had younger players that have gone up through their system as well that have been waiting for the chance to step up, and that's what you've seen throughout this season. Their coaching staff has prepared for that. They were not blindsided by the loss of a great player like Allo, and now they have produced talent that has gone through their system and really stepped up. They've also recruited great talent, brought in great talent from the transfer portal. Got to tip your cap to that coaching staff, because they really know how to bounce back and say, you know what, we lose a great player, but we're still going to make it in the postseason. We're still going to be a team to beat. There's no drop-off with that program. There really isn't. When it comes to Oklahoma softball, no drop-off at all. You basically lock and reload, which is the way you want it to be. Almost a little bit kind of like what FSU does, honestly, because I feel like over there they have a similar mentality where it's just, hey, get new talent in, and there's no drop-off from this year to the next. And that's really what Oklahoma softball is about. And if you're a young player, and I've talked to young softball players that go, hey, Oklahoma is on my radar, and that's just what they are as a program. You can easily sell that team, that program to people, no matter where you are. Oklahoma, if you're being recruited by Oklahoma softball, that's going to be a serious thing for you to consider. And that's what Arkansas is really trying to do. Courtney Deifel talks about it a lot, is that she wants that mentality right here in Fayetteville, that we're building something that will last years and years and years and years. And she's done that so far. We'll see if it continues, because she had the #1 recruiting class last year. Can she keep it going? And that's kind of the mentality they have at Oklahoma, at FSU, and they just keep it going. It's honestly incredible to see, because every year you think, will this be another year that they can do it? And every year the answer is yes, they can.
Absolutely. They've already punched their ticket to the Big 12 championship in softball, and it's looking like the number 7 seed, Texas, is going to be, they'll be taking them on, and both of those teams are going to be in the SEC next year. So we started this segment out with how good the SEC is, and now the improvement is going to be over the moon with Oklahoma and Texas. How hard is it going to be for teams to get out of the SEC in years moving forward with Oklahoma and Texas coming?
Well, so hard. The answer is so hard. I think everyone is kind of waiting with bated breath to see those two teams join the SEC. I mean, you even think about it in baseball as well. Dave Van Horn and his staff played in a tournament over in Arlington at the beginning of the year in Texas. While they did beat them, they made it very competitive. And Dave Van Horn was like, when they join the SEC, it's just going to be more competitive than that. The SEC is always one of the toughest conferences, and you can't argue that which way you want to say. I know people say the ACC, I get it, I understand, but the SEC truly is tough when it comes to baseball, softball, football, you name it, basketball. It's always a tough conference. So I think it's just going to be that much tougher, and you bring in a powerhouse like Oklahoma, even Texas, with softball. You bring in two powerhouses that are just going to make it that much more difficult for everybody else. I honestly can't wait to see it, because it's going to make things like the SEC softball tournament that much more interesting. It's going to make the postseason that much more interesting when it comes to bringing those teams into the SEC. I know a lot of people are going to be excited about it, and they should, rightfully so.
Courtney, one more for you, because South Carolina just took the lead on Auburn in the top of the 7th. It's 3-2,
nice.
So I'm going to let you get back to that. But first, for your Arkansas Razorbacks, over under 7.5 wins in college football next year.
Oh, over under 7.5 wins. I'm going to take the over, and here's why. I'm going to give you a good reason. Sam Pittman has brought in an incredible staff. He's turned over his offensive and defensive coordinator, and his offensive coordinator, Dan Enos, is absolutely incredible when it comes to bringing in quarterbacks into his system and developing them. You have KJ Jefferson back, one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. You have Rocket Sanders, one of the best running backs in the SEC. And we've seen from their spring game, they have some wide receivers that can do some damage. My question marks come with the offensive line. Can the defense hold up? I think yes, but I'm so excited about that Dan Enos offense. I'm going to say over for that all the way. I'm going to take it.
I love it. Hey, Courtney, thanks so much. It was a blast having you on, and let's get you back on here and continue with college softball as we get closer to the Women's College World Series.
Let's do it. I love it. I enjoyed coming on with you guys. Thank you so much. Absolutely.
That's Courtney Mims, ladies and gentlemen. She is a reporter for Pig Trail Nation, weekend sports anchor for KNWA, Fox 24, and KARK for news. All right, that was a great time. We've got to take a quick time out. When we do get back, it's going to be time for our local high school sports spotlight, brought to you by Barbaritos. We'll be right back. Keep it locked in to ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida. The Afternoon Underdogs.
I mean, 1, 2, or 3 at the end of the day, as long as you hit on those picks at the first, second, or third, you should
the team
be
with
well
the third
there.
best odds got the first pick. Like, people can cry. I don't know.
I don't know.
What we're gonna see here though is the Bears got the first pick.
4 to 6 weekdays. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Are you tired of hearing 2 weeks when you call to get your boat worked on? Hey folks, it's Chris Kramer with Kramer Marine and Outdoor, and we'll get you in and back out on the water as quick as possible. We're a full-line Yamaha outboard dealer and Suzuki outboard dealer, and we have master-trained certified mechanics on site. So if it's just an annual service, electronics install, trolling motor install, or all the way up to a full repower, we can take care of you. So stop by and see us in the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd next to Bill Kramer GM, or call us at 850-851-0453.
Here at Tracy's Fine Jewelry, we want to help you celebrate Mom this month. From mother's rings with her children's birthstones to unique one-of-a-kind pieces just like her. This month is meant to celebrate Mom. From our large selection of beautiful stackable bands to simple, elegant diamond necklaces that will bring a sparkle to her eye. This Mother's Day, show Mom how much you love her with a beautiful piece of jewelry that's as unique as she is. From Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
You know the break room for the best pool tables in Bay County. But did you know they now serve delicious food? Check out the break room's daily lunch and dinner specials like spaghetti and meatballs, meatloaf with mashed potatoes, air-fried chicken, and more. Plus the best burgers, hot dogs, and you gotta try the Sammy of the day. The break room on Panama City Beach at the corner of Joan Avenue and North Lagoon. For more information, check them out on Facebook.
Chef Ross here. We're open daily at 11 at the break room.
ESPN Northwest Florida. The tradition continues.
It is a walk-off home run for Sean Murphy into the Braves bullpen.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdog.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we're back. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. I'm David Hayes, along with Adam Goff and Caveman Rick and Bone Crusher on the ones and twos. Bone Crusher, are we allowed to promote what you do as far as your hosting goes?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, well, so tell everybody, man.
Yeah, whenever you're in Daytona Beach, Florida, you can listen to me afternoon drives on 104.7 The Rock of Daytona.
I love it, man. And
bringing the hurt, bringing the pain. I'm going to take down the #1 station in Daytona Beach.
That's a heck of a commute every day, buddy.
It is a heck of a commute, but my man drives fast.
Right?
Yeah. He's actually got one of the first drones that just drops them off over there, and then he's in cahoots with Amazon Prime. But no, I mean Bone Crusher, everything that he touches turns to gold, and he's done a fantastic. That's an understatement. I'm selling how much he does here for this station, but I love it on Fridays when he gets there behind our board. And I love everyone who's got anything to do with
definitely a hard worker guy that's not afraid to get his hands dirty and do what needs to get done. That's John.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So make sure you check out Bone Crusher and what he's got going on, especially just follow him on Facebook. He posts some great stuff on there as well. All right, high school softball. We're in the first round of the state playoffs. Caveman Rick, why don't you take those scores there, bro?
State playoffs, so congratulations, guys. 1A class, we got Liberty County taking out Seeds 11-2. Pace shutting out Niceville 11-0. Northview taking down Holmes 17-6. A lot of these big scores, man. Franklin beats Bozeman 9-0, and Jay taking down Freeport 10-0. So either you put up a lot of runs or just nothing.
And we mentioned at the top of the show, not the top of the hour necessarily, but at 4 o'clock, that Bay High School has made their hire, and they've introduced Mike Duffy as its new head boys basketball coach. And he is coming most recently from Pickens High School. That's over there in Jaspin, Georgia. He coached from 2019 to 2023. He had a record of 63-74, but he was 4-22 in his first season. But he also had 4 state tournament appearances to go along with that. And through nearly 40 years that he's been coaching, Duffy's got a record of 523 and 382. That's a pretty daggum good record right there. He coached at Pickens, Dalton, Gordon Central, Morristown East, and Macon County High School. And then AG, wrap us up here with our final piece of information.
Bozeman's Justin Johnson signed his letter of intent to wrestle at Wayland Baptist University. In his senior season, Johnson finished with a record of 32-10. He earned his career win number 100 and won the Class 1A District 1 competition.
Absolutely.
So way to go.
Pretty impressive.
Got to shout out Sam Granville over there with WMBB for putting these stories out on mypanhandle.com. We appreciate it. The local segment was brought to you by Barbaritos Food Community People. Visit Barbaritos on 23rd Street and tell them that the Underdog sent you.
Just real quick while we're doing the local stuff, just because of some local people, before we run out of time, just wanted to wish my grandmother, my wife, my mom, my sisters happy Mother's Day. My daughter-in-law as well. Love you guys.
To all the moms out there, happy Mother's Day. We wouldn't be here without you, and I think that's safe to say, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of technical, without them,
Quite literal. Yes.
Quite literal, no doubt about it. About last night, the Celtics took down the 76ers. I was, you said on Facebook when I was good, I was almost afraid last night. So, not afraid, but so we've been having this discussion in one of our group chats about Jason Tatum and is he or is he not a superstar? And the majority of us in the group are like, dude, he is a superstar. You can have a struggle night or whatever. And to Adam's defense, sometimes Jason Tatum kind of goes away or shrinks away in the last minute or in the clutch time of a basketball game. And last night, it was the entire opposite, though. I was getting ready to be like, you know what? You can't go down in a game 6 and have 1 point through the first 3 quarters, or 1 bucket, essentially, from the field in the 3 quarters. And then he turned it on there and kind of saved me from having to send that text and just went hammer. I mean, 3 threes, I believe, like down the stretch. Just like, wow, what's going on, And what makes that even more impressive to me is the fact that you had a terrible 3.5 quarters, let's be honest, a terrible 3.5 quarters, and then your team's back is against the wall, and regardless of what Philly did, Jason Tatum showed up right there at the end. So very impressive win from the Boston Celtics. What did you see last night? Oh, we got a Celtics and a Sixers right here.
I'll just say real quick, I think he's a star, not a superstar.
All right.
At this point.
And that's where I'm at, right? I mean, that's been the whole crux of our disagreement. Is like, I'm a Celtics fan and I love Jason Tatum, but he is not that guy right now. He is a star in the league. I know he got voted first team All NBA. That's great. Thanks, Max. Appreciate you throwing that out there. And I agree. He is a star in the league, but he is yet to take that next step to being a top 5 player in the league. So I don't think he is a top 5 player in the league. And that's not to say that I don't love everything that he's done for the Celtics and what he could potentially do.
Yeah.
But I have yet to see him be that leader on the court, step up, take the bull by the horns, and put his team over the top.
I wonder how much it has to do with, the Celtics are one of the few teams in the league that have what you would consider a true kind of 1A, 1B type situation. You can make the argument with the Lakers, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis at this stage of LeBron James's career, but I mean, golly, the injuries and just, you don't ever want to say, man, that was not a concussion, because you don't know how. But if that was a concussion, that was a very soft, that wasn't even an elbow.
Wheeled out in the wheelchair. I mean, there's hockey players, all kinds of stuff.
When you start putting that on,
come on, dude, that's soft.
Right, but the Lakers are only going to go as far as AD takes them.
Yeah, and I can agree with that as well.
And that's the difference. And when you look at the Celtics, they have enough pieces around them that this, no offense, Rick, this should not be a 7-game series. It should be a 5-game series with the amount of talent and defensive ability that this team has for the Celtics.
The Sixers got the MVP.
It doesn't matter. It should be a 5-game series. This game, like, granted, the Celtics are probably going to win. And they're going to win this series, and they're going to move on to the Eastern Conference Championship.
I got the Sixers.
I don't know about that.
They're going to face the Heat, and what's going to happen? You're going to see Jimmy Butler go off, and the rest of the team do nothing. And then you're going to, just like last year, you're going to see the Celtics win that series again. You're going to see the Celtics win that series, and they're going to go on to play the finals. And they're going to lose to the Lakers.
So it's going to be a retro type series, or a retro rivalry, if you will.
Vintage,
Lakers,
right.
Vintage Lakers Celtics. I mean, I wouldn't be too terribly upset with that. But my thing is so you have to be top 5 out of 450 players to be considered a superstar.
I think so.
I think that we've got more than 5 superstars in the league.
Top 10.
Right. And but all right, Jason Tatum, is Jason Tatum a top 10 player in the league currently right now?
I'd say no.
Who else do you got above him right now?
You got like Steph, you got Luka, you got Embiid, you got Giannis, you can say LeBron, you got
Dame.
Okay, are you Damian Lillard?
Would you take
Jimmy
for the
Butler?
Celtics,
Maybe.
would you rather have Dame Lillard than you would Jason Tatum?
Yes.
Jimmy Butler, I mean, he's taking a team on his back more so,
Jimmy Butler is one of the most fun players, in my opinion, to watch play the game, because it's just never slowed down, and he plays a ton of defense right along with the offense that he plays.
Mm-hmm. And I hate saying this, but, I mean, because the dude is never healthy, but when he is healthy, Kawhi Leonard is a top 5 player in this league.
Oh, there's
Kevin Durant, no doubt about it.
But I would rather have Jason Tatum than Kawhi Leonard, though.
You got 10 right there.
Because of the best ability is availability. And I understand
1,000%.
that. But from a strictly leadership standpoint and ability, I would rather have a healthy Kawhi over a healthy Jason Tatum. Whatever it is. But no, I mean, Jason Tatum is phenomenal. He's great. He doesn't have that killer instinct when it comes down to it. I'm happy to see it happen
last night, but
I'm happy to see it happen last night. Now do it again.
Well, some guys just aren't like that. Like, everybody gives Kevin Durant a hard time because he just isn't that alpha guy that wants to be the leader of a team. He just wants to be the mercenary. He just wants to go out there and just make buckets, help his team win. And he's happy with that, and he's content with that. He doesn't want to have all the focus on him.
He didn't help his team win in this series. Do we attribute that to...
Was it Chris Paul getting hurt again?
Well, there could be that. There could be, they didn't have a whole bunch of time to mesh. Why was that Nuggets Suns...
Guy.
Outside of 2 games, why was that Nuggets Sun series just so boring? Is it because when the Nuggets have a healthy roster around Nikola Jokic that they're just that good?
Yeah, they are that good. Yeah. I mean, Jamal Murray is very underrated. Aaron Gordon provides them a nice lift. Jokic is just that dude, though. I mean, he is 100% that dude. And he gets forgotten about because he's out there in Denver. But I just want to say, if it is going to be Denver-Miami in the NBA Finals, that is going to be the most boring NBA Finals.
Sometimes very good.
As far as storylines go, or at least, not
in terms of gameplay.
Yeah, well, okay, there's that too. But if you get good games, I would rather watch good games and know that I'm going to get one, at least every other game rather than watching these let's trade 30-point blowouts. Because at that point, it's like almost every game that I've watched of the Nuggets, and this is not a knock on the Nuggets because they play basketball like the way a lot of people would like basketball to be played, kind of closer to old school. And so I guess my thing is I'd rather be able to watch past, 2 minutes into the third quarter.
When you talk about very good, you can mention that about teams or about just a game in general, but very good doesn't have to include exciting. You don't have to have excitement to be very good. You can be very good and just be a very just bland vanilla team. Like, look at the San Antonio Spurs. All the times they were winning, they weren't the most exciting team, but fundamentally sound. They would go out there making few mistakes and they were winning.
I just like competitive games that are competitive down the stretch. Give me those 3 minutes or 3 minutes in game time that last 30 minutes or whatever. Really, I'm not a big fan of those. And also, sometimes that's the plus, if you will, the pro for those blowouts is you don't got to worry. But still, it seems like even if they're down 30 points, they're fouling to end the game off sometimes, huh?
Yeah, it gets brutal down the stretch sometimes. But, the NBA Finals or the NBA playoffs has been exciting up until this point. The Knicks were a good story, and now we're seeing what they're doing. Jimmy Butler doing his thing, playoff Jimmy coming in the clutch. LeBron still doing it at his age. And you talk about meshing with Kevin Durant in Phoenix. How about the job that they've done meshing D'Angelo Russell and those guys into that Lakers roster? I love D'Angelo Russell. He's from my hometown, so I got to pull for him for a little bit, but he's still a Laker, so I can't really like him that much.
No doubt.
But no, it's been exciting. But let's see what Tatum does. In game
or doesn't
7, or doesn't do in game 7, and then we'll go from there. Now, if he comes out and he has 50 and we blow the Sixers out, okay, cool. I don't care what he does in the last 2 minutes.
If you blow the Sixers out. But if it's close down the stretch and he had 50 through the first 40 minutes of the game and then down the stretch and he doesn't make the shots that
turns
he needs
it over.
We'll see how that plays out.
Bad stretches.
In the world of the NHL, the Hurricanes move on to the Eastern Conference Finals with a dispatching in overtime.
Sorry, Ryan Mulvey.
Dispatching of the Devils in overtime last night to win that one. The Stars take a 3-2 lead on the Seattle Kraken. So tonight, tonight's games, you've got the Knicks at the Heat. Heat are a 6.5-point favorite. Miami wins that game tonight, and they're on to the next round. The Warriors have the Lakers tonight. Lakers at the house at, the Crypto.com arena now these days. Lakers a 3-point favorite. If they win, they're on to the Western Conference Finals to take on the Nuggets. You also have the Panthers at the Leafs. The Leafs are a favorite, but Florida Panthers own the series 3-1 right now. And then the Oilers at the Golden Knights in a 2-2 series. Winner will take the upper hand.
A lot of penalty minutes in that last game at the end of that game.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. So let's pick them here. Knicks at the Heat. Who you got, AG?
Miami.
Miami? They
I'll
close
take
it out?
L Heat.
I'll go with the Heat tonight as well. I think they close it out in 6. And I like the Knicks to stick within 6.5, even though I believe that they won't close that number down until very late in the game. Warriors at the Lakers. Are we seeing a Game 7 here, or do LeBron and the Lakers move on tonight?
No Wiggins tonight. Give me the Lakers.
All right.
I want to see Golden State win. Street clothes, maybe on the bench with a concussion.
All right, I'm gonna say that the Warriors win that game tonight as well. Panthers, Leafs. I want to say that the Leafs are gonna win at the house, but I think that then they put all their energy into winning that other game the other night, and it was still that close. The Panthers close the series out tonight.
I think the Leafs win this one. They've been having a bit of a hangover since they won that series against the Lightning, so I think they win this one, but still lose the series.
Final one we've got here: the Edmonton Oilers, a -135 favorite, but they're on the road here. Golden Knights, do they take the upper hand, or is it going to be Draisaitl and McDavid?
No, I think McDavid and Draisaitl. I mean, that duo is. I mean, they're better than Lemieux and Jágr. They're just sick.
I'll go Edmonton too.
Give me Vegas and Toronto.
All right, Vegas and Toronto. Good stuff there, ladies and gentlemen. Great show. We also have one last text here from someone who was listening with Jason Patterson. Coach Thomas would not keep him in to run up the score when they outmatched their opponents. One game he had 4 touchdowns in the first quarter, and he didn't play anymore. We'll be back Monday at 4, y'all.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
Tonight, exciting interleague play returns as the red-hot Atlanta Braves take on the Toronto Blue Jays. First pitch at 6:07, right after the Afternoon Underdogs. On the official radio station for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast. On the official radio station for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Friday evening. As we head into tonight, some clouds and a low of 72 with a light breeze out of the east at 5 miles per hour. For tomorrow morning, some sun and a temp near 80. In the afternoon and evening, a possibility of thunderstorms and some sun and a high around 83. This weather forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Chuck was terrible at fishing. He spent many frustrating hours attempting to get results he saw from internet videos, aggravating trial and error fishing trips, and misguided advice from well-intended friends. Chuck is happy now with his newfound success after he visited Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, where we keep fishing fun, simple, and successful. See us soon at Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, located directly off Highway 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach.
As a realtor, it's important who you choose.